So off the bat, when you get on the desktop platform, if you haven't yet, and you're looking to place an options trade, we can kind of start it there and kind of go into more how we can manage our open positions and make some adjustments and use our analysis tools to help us decide how we make those adjustments. So first things first, we're going to need some open positions. Right now in this account in front of us, we do have some open positions open, but let's go ahead and just do a brand new one and show you how you can even use the analysis tools when you're making that first trade. So the place you're going to want to go to first is our trade tab. So if you go to the trade tab here, click on that, you might see something a little bit different off the bat. And that's because right now we're on our curve mode. If I were to go up to the trade mode in the top left, and we got quite a few different trade modes here, and go to table, and that's the more traditional options trading interface that we might be used to. And now, in my general preference, I like to start from the trade table and then kind of go into the curve mode and the analysis mode throughout the trade. I'll kind of show you what it looks like here, and then you can decide what your preference is or how you'd like to set up your trades. So at first, we need to find a symbol that we want to trade. Amazon seems relatively, yeah, let's do a little Amazon trade here. Keep it interesting. So if we wanted to place a trade on Amazon, there's two ways we can do it. The first way is that, we can look at this middle column here, look at all these different days until expiration. So for September 13th here, this is 3 days until expiration. Or September 20th below that, that's 10 days till expiration. So you don't even need to look at the dates on the far left for the most part. You can really just look at the middle column here and go, okay, yeah, I want to trade about 66 days out or about 2 months out from today. And then additionally as well, we have some other metrics here on the right side. These are going to come in handy when we talk about our analysis tools, but this is going to be the implied volatility as well as the expected move for each of these expirations. Now, we want to trade, maybe we could do a little earnings trade or something on Amazon here. Maybe we'll look to find, hey, when does Amazon have earnings coming up? You can see this purple E bar there. That means that earnings are coming up on October 24th. So maybe I want to place a little trade here around earnings. I can expand the 66 days out expiration here by just clicking on it. So if I just click on that, boom, we're taken to the options table. And a couple things too, just to note, if you don't see all of the strikes listed right away, check out these settings. Oops. Check out these settings here at the top right of the trade table. You can go strikes and set it to maybe 10 or 8 if you want to view less, especially for those that might be placing calendar spreads where you're trading in multiple expirations at once. For example, just really quick, if we're setting up something like this, you can quickly do it with less strikes. It's a lot less scrolling, but even then, you can go to all strikes, and that'll just show you every single strike available to trade for that symbol. Lastly, too, this little funnel icon in the top right. Right now, we do show weekly expirations, but I usually just set it to all expirations. But maybe if you only wanted to see the monthlies, you can go to regular. Or if you only wanted to see the weeklies, you could go to non-regular. That'll filter out those different expirations. We'll just go back to all for right now and all for our strikes so we can see everything. And we like that 66 days out. So I'm just going to click anywhere on this row here, this blue bar right around 66 on the left and right. When I click on that, we expand our options chain. And now we can go ahead and start setting up a trade. And now I mentioned earlier there's some different visuals or data points that we can use to help set up our trade here. And the first thing is going to be this orange bar right here. And I know the question comes up in these demos often is, hey, I don't see that orange bar. Really quick, if you don't see that orange bar, go to your settings gear icon in the top right here. and just make sure, and the arrows are going to get in the way here, but this price range overlay expected move, daily none, just make sure that's set to expected move and you should be all set. But now the expected move here is going to give us a visual representation of, hey, over the next 66 days, what's about a one standard deviation move or probability of breaching the outsides of these brackets here on the yellow bar at about a 68% certainty. So for the most part, except for pretty volatile or large action events in the markets, generally it'll stay within that expected move or within that one standard deviation move. So maybe if you think I'm kind of conservative on this, I don't think that there's going to be anything too crazy. Maybe I just want to trade or profit as long as this symbol trade stays within this expected move. So what I can do is clear off my drawings. And maybe we want to set up an iron condor. This is a strategy where we can profit from as long as over these next 66 days, you know, as long as it trades within this range or how we set it up, that we'll be at a profit on this trade. So we could do that by just, clicking on the bid and ask and getting a trade set up like that. Or if you're new to this as well, we do have a strategy selector drop down at the top where you can even set up an iron condor really quickly by just clicking on iron condor go. And now you got your leg set up. What we can do now is say, okay, I want to drag my legs a little higher there. Maybe drag my legs a little lower here. Boop, boom. And look to see where this red and green line start to meet that expected move point or where our break even is on this trade. So you can use this red and green line as a very eagle eye view or approach at looking where your profit or loss zones are on a trade while you're just setting up in the table here. And we can say, hey, okay, yeah, if we were to place this trade right now and Amazon were to stay at a price between about the 195 and 160 strikes, that we would end up having a profit on this trade. But there's a lot of other factors that can happen. Like, hey, what if I'm at a profit halfway through the trade, max profit halfway through the trade? How can I figure that out? How can I kind of analyze this on a further basis? So the next thing we're going to want to do after we're kind of somewhat comfortable with where we like our strike prices at, we can go to the trade mode again in the top left and go to curve. And off the bat, when you first click on curve, you're going to kind of have a slightly different view. This is a horizontal view of the trade table. It's a little bit of a different interface if you're looking to adjust your strikes or kind of set up your trade based on these profit or loss zones. And you see that expected move bar, that orange highlight in the middle. I'm personally not the hugest fan. I usually just immediately skip to the analysis mode. So if you go straight to the analysis mode here, and let's see, do we already have a position open on in here? Yeah, there we go. So, and I'll show you how you can adjust some of the stuff here if you do have positions open. But just for example purposes, once you get into the curve analysis mode, just showing you trade mode curve, and I clicked on analysis here, this is going to take us to a graph that you might be much more familiar to if you've been trading in other firms or watched some tutorial videos where people are talking about profit or loss zones and strategies and break-even points. This is going to give you a full graph of your profit or loss at expiration based on the trade you have set up right here. So I can even then drag and move around, maybe do a broken wing butterfly or something along those lines. You can drag around and move these strikes as you see fit based on maybe your risk tolerance or how much you want to get out of this trade based on certain probability metrics as well. And now this is a very basic view. We're not getting too much insight other than like, hey, unless I have a price that I already know I don't want to hit, I could set my trade up like that. But what are some other factors that I can use? But what is some analysis I can use to, again, better further set up my trade? So the first thing that we're going to want to do here is at the top of the analysis mode. Sorry, ignore those. Someone else is firing off some trades on these accounts. But in the top here, we have our curve mode, default, as well as analysis. So they'll be on top of each other at first. But if I zoom out here, and I'll show you where you can zoom out too. If we wanted to zoom in or out on this configuration, we can always use these little arrows here. You can also use your mouse wheel too, if you wanted to. Use your mouse wheel up or down, or you can use these magnifying glasses to kind of zoom in and out. There's also a Y scale too, if you wanted to kind of shrink the Y scale a bit or expand it. So little move around tools in the top right and in the middle. But now that we have and kind of see the larger distribution curves here, I was talking about the expected move earlier in that one standard deviation move. What we're seeing here is based on the volatility for Amazon right now. This is the same distribution curve for showing us where the one standard deviation move points are. That's this first dotted line going down, or the second standard deviation. So we can use these standard deviation points again. Maybe we want to kind of crank out our strategies, widen it out a bit. We can drag it to make our break-even points right around that one standard deviation point. You can do that by dragging. So I was clicking, left clicking, and dragging, but also at the bottom of our order ticket too. These here, these little buttons here, make it a little easier where if you want to widen it out all in one little frame there, you can click widen, or you can go shrink it back together a bit. Or you can move all of the strikes to a different direction. Maybe we want to be a little extra bullish, or we want to get a little bearish with it. We can move around our entire position in one click rather than having to drag and drop all those different positions, especially with an iron condor where we have 4 different legs. But cool. So that's just a little bit of the setup. On top of the graph here, you're going to notice some details on your trade's profit or loss zones, as well as some metrics on how your trade will perform. So we have max profit, max loss. We have some other stuff like delta. In this case, we have negative 1.93. That means that this is slightly skewed to the downside. Or, we look at probability of profit. This is about a 55% probability of profit, or that means that there's about a 55% chance that it trades within this range, about a cent. There's some other metrics here that I can go into more detail, might bog down the brain a bit, but we have some nice articles that I'm sure we can link out, and I'll turn back to at the end, where we have a nice glossary of what all these different figures mean and how you can interpret them. And then catching some of the questions. Gotcha. Yeah, we can cover that later. But then now we got the curve set up and all that. Lastly, there's 2 other things that we can do. We can go into info here in the top right, click on info, and now you'll see this little dialog box moving back and forth. And this is showing us again where our mouse is. So maybe we want to see, hey, like right between these lines here, where my mouse is held right here, that white dot looks like that's at a price of about 200.67. In that case, if Amazon expired at that price for this position, I would have a loss of about $181. Now, you'll also see P&L Theo there, and that's what we're going to be going into next. And this is what's really, really nice about having to analyze your open positions or trades that you're looking to open, want to see how they might react to different factors in the market. And then let's go into, yeah, let's keep that there. So we were looking at the P&L at expiration graph. It's kind of nice. Again, it's just looking at like, hey, if I were to hold this position all these 66 days, where would my profit or loss be based on where Amazon was trading? So this is Amazon's price on the x-axis. And then our graph here is showing us, hey, what are the profit zones? So we have profits on the y-axis. Now, if we wanted to start looking at the theoreticals, what you're going to need to do is change some of these settings. So, and I think I might have cursed over this a little bit earlier, but off the start here, I deselected these two, pretty much turned off a lot of the other stuff, and all I had selected was zones at expiration and lines P&L expiration. So say I were to untoggle the expiration zones, you'll notice that green and red bars or highlights are going away. Same with if I go the P&L at expiration line, which is this line right here. If I click on that, that goes away. So bring them back together. You see them both, take them both off, they're gone. So that's how you can get rid of the expiration line. And then all you got to do is just next go to P&L Theo on the lines and P&L Theo zones. Jeez, drawing tools are not doing me justice today, folks. So but it's okay. So we'll click on Theo here. And now we have P&L Theo line, P&L Theo zones. And this is showing us our theoretical profit or loss based on some different parameters that we have set up on the other side of our screen. So this is where our right side panel comes into hand. And generally, once you get into the analysis mode or curve analysis mode screen, you should immediately be taken to this right side panel. But if you don't, all you got to do is just find this analysis button on the right side panel here. If you have it open, might need to click on some of the arrows in the top right if it's not. But then once you have this open, this is where you can start to adjust your theoretical values. So again, we're looking at this iron condor here where, generally we're profiting as long as it's trading within a range. But right now, if we were to, pretty much hold this today, or close this out right now, we're already going to be at a bit of a loss on this position based on where we're setting this price at. But now if we were to go over to our settings over here on the right side, what we can do too is say, okay, say I open this and then time decay plays in our favor. So Iron Condor here, we're selling two spreads. We're getting a credit for these spreads. We want time decay to play in our favor. So generally it's like, hey, if I can hold this spread until expiration and it trades within my Iron Condor's range, I'm a happy camper. I just got max profit. But by looking at the evaluate date section over here, you can start to get a better idea of how, and you see I'm ticking up the day here on this arrow over here on the date. So I'm going September 27th, 30th, 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, 10-4. So this is going all the way until we get to our options expiration. Even then you can see here, get rid of some of these drawings here. But you can see here we have the evaluate at date. And then right now, so if we're looking at in the future, we're looking at what is this, November 8th, we can see that that's about 7 days until expiration for this option. And we can imagine that as long as all other factors right now stayed the same, the price of Amazon was relatively about the same, what would my profit or loss zones be for this trade? So right now, if Amazon were trading at its current price, I would be, and if I get my info box back open, I can look at, and even then, you can look in the top right too. I'll show it in a second. But the info box is nice where I just scroll over where that little green flag is. That's where Amazon is currently trading. I can see my P&L Theo would be about $370. So if Amazon stayed at this current price for about, what was it, 59 days, unlikely, but in that case, we would be at a profit of about $380. And that's close to our max profit. Now, say over those next 58 days or 59 days that Amazon had traded up to about say $215. Well, then I would probably be at a loss of about 605 bucks, or right around my max. Or actually, in this case, sorry, I was looking at the wrong number. So in this case, it was 368.5 for the P&L Theo. But in this case, we'd be at a P&L Theo loss of about 530 bucks, which is, 80 bucks above our max loss. So we're getting down there, especially as we start to get outside of our standard deviation ranges. So we can see that, okay, yeah, right around two standard deviation move over this next series of days, we're probably going to be at a max loss on this trade. And then I see someone asking, how do I look at a trade as it stands now? I'll cover that in just a second here. Just wanted to show off the theoreticals. But then now that we have our date set up that we kind of want to view this at, or maybe playing around with the dates to see how time decay is playing in our favor here for this trade, we can also select and mess around with our implied volatility for our expiration. So on the bottom side here as well, we have expiration implied volatilities. All of these are going to be grayed out if unless you have multiple expirations in your trade. And in this case, I could say, okay, right around 38% volatility for this expiration. What if it went up about 10? Well, then theoretically, we'd have a little bit less of a profit after these, you know, however many days was it now, like 49. So yeah, when you have a long spread, you want volatility, or not a long spread. When you're selling an iron condor, you want implied volatility to go down. So the more implied volatility is going up, the worse it is for our strategy. Now, on the flip side, if volatility starts to decrease instead, it's great. We're going to start seeing our max profit a lot sooner. So even then, you can go in and mess around with use per contract IVs and see how individual contracts implied volatilities change, how that plays into a factor on the graph and your profit or loss zones for these scenarios. The last piece I'll just show really quick is that you can use Theo spot price as well over here. And Theo spot price here, right now it's 178.21 because that's where Amazon is trading. But if I were to say type in about 205, I could type in 205 and you can kind of see this blue highlight here. And when I type in 205, this number up here, this P&L Theo number, is going to show us, okay, that's where our theoretical profit or loss would be on this trade. Or I can hover my mouse over that same point and it's about the same thing. So it depends on the certain metrics that you have set up over here, but it's a combination of either using this right-hand sidebar or using kind of the display graph here to get a better interpretation of how you want to set up your trade. Lastly, just some other little cool things in here that I want to cover before getting into the other side of things there is that you can also look to set up trades in here or look at quotes. So there's a view quotes button here so you can see where the bid and ask are for each of these expirations. And also, if you ever are just like, say, maybe we want to just clear out this trade, just get rid of it. You can go to clear here, bottom right, click on that. And then what we could do too in this interface without even having anything in here, so we could go up here to single legs, stock, call, put. Maybe I just want to get a calls, check out the calls. This is kind of a different way of viewing our different table mode trading interface. Personally, not my favorite. There's a lot going on. I know some people do really like this though. So you could go through these different expirations. And so like each of these is a strike price. Each of these columns is this strike price. And then these are the different prices for each of these expirations. So even then, looking at and trying to compare what the price of different strikes are across several expirations, this is the best place to go to do that. So if you go in here and I see the question, is there any analysis for long options? Yes. So if I go in here and maybe I just want to go ahead and buy a call option. I could click on that there and interesting. Doesn't say it expired there. Yeah, let's try. Yeah, okie dokie. I'll get something a little more fresh. But so you're asking about, hey, can you get analysis on long options? It's the same exact thing. So if you set up a call option order ticket, get to the analysis mode, same exact deal, where you're able to view a call option and see how different theoreticals play in its favor. So imagine for this call option, was it again 66 days dated out? The more time that passes, a little worse. The less time that passes, a little bit better. So again, it plays into the factors that, yeah, time decay doesn't play, um, isn't good for long options holders. So start to lose value over time. And then implied volatility, say implied volatility goes up a bunch. You can see, that green area is creeping lower and lower. So your profit zone is increasing there. Your break-even point is going down as those factors are changing. So you can do those full analysis on any kind of strategy. So you can go, you could do a strangle, or you could go up here and do a straddle, or maybe a jade lizard, or a butterfly. So you can set up all these different trades, and you can do pretty darn quick too, going between the two of them. And you can set it up in the analysis mode here. You can go back to the table mode if you really want to. You can flick between a lot of the different screens depending on how you best get the information to help make your trades. But great. So that was kind of a high level overview of the analysis mode here. But now I kind of want to get into a little bit deeper on how you can look and manage your own open positions, and then also look and see how you can make adjustments to those positions and how that adjusts the analysis, and how you can kind of, again, get some more insight into how you might want to manage your position. So right now I'm going to need to dive into this account here and figure something nice. Do this. So, and I don't want to go too fast here. Sorry, I got on autopilot. I think I got a light concussion from a wedding last week, so the brain's not working too well, folks. So thank you for bearing with me. But right here we have an AMD strangle. I went to our positions are, and all you got to do is get into your open position, left click to select both of them, or you can just click on the title here if you're grouping by order chains or something like that. Right click it and then go to analysis. So that's one way to do it. You can right click and go to analysis. Conversely, another little cool area that you might not find off the bat is that if you have our right side panel analysis mode open as well, and you just click on view analysis up here, same exact thing. So I click on view analysis and boom, we're taken to our analysis mode right away. So you can either go through the positions tab, you can go through the right side panel. It's a combination of the two. And once you're in here with your open position, right now we're looking at the theoreticals, but maybe I want to look at our at expiration lines. I need to zoom out quite a bit. I was like, this isn't a vertical spread. Makes a little more sense now, right? So when we're looking at the graph on the strangle here, again, similar kind of to the iron condor where we're profiting as long as we're trading within a range, maybe I want to instead, close out one of these sides and see how, just keeping this short call open. How would that kind of affect my portfolio or my position here? What you can do is at any point, go up here in the top and toggle off particular sides of a strategy. So right now, this is just showing us our short call. Or if I just wanted to see the short put by itself, I could do that as well. And now I might have a strangle here, but imagine that I got a strangle here, and then maybe I go back into the table mode real quick. So we'll go back into table mode. Let's see how adding some additional legs might change some things up here. So if we go into table mode, you can find the expiration that we placed these or had this position open in, which is that little dot there, October 18th. And maybe what I want to do is set up and buy a little, oops, an extra leg there. We could set that up right there. And then once we have that set up, we can go back to curve mode. And now looks a little similar to what we had before, right? So what we did is that we had a strangle, went there, bought a call, bought a put, created those two spreads, and then we're able to see now if I were to add these new legs to my current open strangle, that this is what my strategy would end up looking like at expiration. Now, at any point too, I could toggle off those existing positions that are already open, the ones with the little shield icon there, by just clicking on their checkbox. And then now I can see just the trade that I have queued up, or I can add in all the different legs. Oops, back it up. So, and then 2.2, it looks a little bit different than before, but here's our short put. Here's our short call that we sold already. And then this would be our long put. This would be our long call. So that's a little bit about how you can kind of play around with adding on additional legs. Or to point two, say, let's go back to our positions tab again. And let's go find something juicy, something fun. Yeah, let's do that. So maybe we want to roll a position. So for those of you that don't know how to roll position, just quick little TLDR here, even though you're not reading anything, but just double click on your positions, right click, and then you can go roll expirations. And this quick roll expirations here makes it easy to go, okay, yeah, I want to roll this out to about 101 days out. That'll help set up a trade here for our roll. And now right now it took us straight to curve. I'm going to go ahead and click on analysis up top. And now here too, we can see how we got a lot of stuff going on here right now. But you can see how rolling this position would adjust our profit or loss zones. And good question. So let me get a little simpler example here. So that got a little messy. Let's see. Let's do a little. Let's pull up that AMD strangle again. So if we wanted to roll expirations, we can select maybe 45 days out, go back into our curve analysis mode. And then right now, it's currently rolling us. So we're closing our October 18th, 125, 165, opening 125, 165 at October 25th. So just rolling for a week later. But at any point too, you can also left drag and move around these new legs. So you can use the tools at the bottom too if you really wanted to, or you can drag and move it around. See how, okay, I want to roll to a different expiration. Also maybe want to adjust one of these strikes on one of my legs. It's really easy to drag back and forth and get that picture of, hey, what does this do for my P&L expiration graph? Or, maybe what does this do for my P&L Theo as well? Let's see, do we have anything else going on here? Yeah. Then I see some more questions here. Yeah, so question, will review and send just be the new legs? Exactly. So when you roll a position, it kind of looks like there's like four legs going on. In reality, it's the same thing as just closing a position and reopening a new one. It's just all in one step. So if you roll a position to a different expiration, that order automatically closes your current open position and instantaneously as well opens your new position at those new expirations. So um, it's all kind of built into that rolling feature. But awesome. Before I go into any of our other little analysis tools here, I just want to open it up to any questions. So feel free to toss any questions in the chat if you got them. Quiet crowd today. Oh, good question. Do you have a PDF of the strategies? Yes, we do have an options cheat sheet. I think Anthony, Mark, Quinn, you guys hopefully should be able to find it here. But if we can't get that to you, just please shoot us an email and I'll show all of our support options here at the end of the demo shortly. Please reach out to us and we can get you that PDF right away. It's super, super nice. I can also show you where our education center is, where there's a lot of great visuals and videos showing, how these different strategies work and how they're set up. And then you can start kind of playing around in the analysis mode too, while you're learning those strategies, which is nice. Cool. So Tony, I see the question on an earnings play. So I think we were looking at Amazon earlier. Pull that up. Hmm. So say we want to do a little earnings play on Amazon. What we could do is start setting up some short legs here. We'll just do a strangle, get a little wild with it. Or, maybe let's do it on a condor. Make sure it's defined risk. But you can get that set up in here. And then we'll go into our analysis mode. And essentially what you're going to want to do is that you can kind of see the impacts of, hey, okay, earnings come out, and then there's a huge boost in the expirations implied volatility, or really all the strikes volatilities go up. So you have your earnings trade here, right? And then in the bottom right, we have our expiration volatility. And just in case you don't have it set up too, just make sure you have lines P&L Theo, zones Theo, and then you can go ahead and start to say, okay, yeah, earnings come out and it's absolutely wild. Options are up about 20% volatility. Not looking good for the short iron condor here. But conversely, say volatility were to go down about 15 points, then it's going to look a little bit better for our iron condor here. So that's how you can kind of play around with the volatility at certain, and in this case, you might want to look at the exact today as well. Click on today on the evaluate at date. And gotcha. So let me pull up. See, we got a calendar working here. Yeah, let's check out GLD. Look at that. So I see your question, Brian, about showing P&L changes over time for a calendar or diagonal. So what you can do is, again, we'll get into our Theo here, and we'll see our two different options with two different expirations. And same goes, as you evaluate at a different date. So getting closer to that at expiration date, or going back to today, how that adjusts there, moving around that evaluate at date. Same goes if we're looking at decreases, increases in volatility, or again, maybe you want to maybe you want to roll one of these, like you want to roll the September out a little bit later too. You can kind of set up that trade as well and see what it looks like. And then actually, I think I accidentally selected both legs there. So if I get rid of, no, let me go back. Deselect our long. There we go. Good stuff. So again, you can do the same thing where it's like, hey, I want to roll um, my calendar out a little bit further. You can use all these analysis tools to get a better picture of what might happen or where your risk might be as things are moving around. So this has just been the curve analysis mode, which is just one of the features that we like to use here in terms of portfolio management and analysis. But quickly, I'm just going to kind of, since we're going a little long here, I'm going to go into just some other cool features that you guys might have not seen originally when you first opened up the platform. They're a little bit hidden, but these are going to be really, really great, especially for those that like to look at your risk on a portfolio basis. So let's hop into that right now. And we can do that by going to the positions tab. So positions right here in the top left, we'll click on that. And then something too that you might have not found is that if you go to the cap rec button here in the top right, this cap rec button, that's going to show us our capital requirements for all of our open positions. So if you got futures positions, options, stock, all of your requirements or how much buying power these positions are taking up are going to be listed here. So this is nice to know in its own right, right? But if I go and select total here on this checkbox, make sure that all of these different positions are checked. And then next, go to the risk analysis tab. This is a more in-depth look at a portfolio's risk, including all of the positions in your portfolio. So to try and dumb this down as much as possible, since there's a lot of stuff in here that's going to take a lot of time, and I'm sure we can link out our help article that kind of goes into all of the different figures here and how to adjust things and what things mean in the chat. But the main things that you're going to kind of look out for here is the yellow boxes. These are showing you the essentially the worst case scenario for this position or your portfolio. In this case, if the market generally went down 20%, you'd be at about a negative $27,000 loss based on all of the open positions in this portfolio. You can see based on a 16%, 12%, 8% move down, or up 4, up 8, up 12, up 16. So you can start to see based on your entire portfolio how different and you know it's cool too where you can start to check to see like, hey, what if there are some big black swan events and I want to really crank up the percentage correlation and the IV shift and say, hey, IV shifted up 40%. And I also want to evaluate this at about a week from now. You can do a lot of these similar different testings. And even then, you can add in order legs as well. So if you've queued up an order and click on order legs, you can add in new positions. But Peter, let me just show you one more time there, my friend, since you might have not seen it. First things first is you go to the capital requirements window in the top right. Click on that. And then when you're in the capital requirements window, make sure that you have this top checkbox marked and then go to risk analysis. Nice. And now you have a risk analysis mode. So again, I could go into a lot of detail on this. I think we'll look to do a demo specifically on this feature real soon, but we do have some nice write-ups and explanations as to how to use this tool in specific. If anything, this is more applicable to those that trade on portfolio margin, which is a risk-based margining system. It's kind of like how, you know, when you do a naked put, it's kind of like held at like 30% or 20% plus or minus the credit received. But with PM, it looks and says, hey, we're looking at your entire portfolio. If everything shifts 20% down, what's the worst case scenario? okay, that's your margin requirement for your entire account. That's kind of how PM works, and that's what this tool is essentially deriving. So for those of you that use PM, super useful. For those of you who just want to look at entire account risk, also extremely useful. And then I see the question came up, hey, can you backtest strategies on tastytrade? So we do have these nice little analysis tools that you can do on trades you haven't placed, but we are getting really excited. We're in a closed beta right now on our backtesting tool, and it's super, super nice. You don't have to have cash in your account. It's all free. And it'll all be in platform as well. So you'll be able to backtest all the strategies that you want before you start implementing them on the platform. So especially for those that are like a little not sure or learning trading and need a little more conviction or a little more confidence before tossing the real funds in, that's going to be a really great feature. So, and if you do want to sign up for the beta test, I think yeah, Mark, did you toss it in there? But we'll toss in our beta testing tools article, and that you can email us at feedback@tastytrade.com. We'll get you set up for the beta test. But should be like just like a month or so. I think end of September we should have it live. But cool. I'll open it up to some more questions in just a second. But the last kind of cool place that I like to check out looking at my portfolio risk is this button right here. So I don't know if any of you have ever clicked on it. It's mysterious. What is P&L there? What does it mean? Well, when you click on it, it's going to populate a graph for your account, kind of similar to the risk analysis tool mode there that we saw. It's looking at all of our positions throughout our account. And what it's saying is that what would be your correlation or beta to SPY or SPY, kind of the general market? What would be your account's theoretical profit or loss on all your open positions if SPY were to trade up or down? So kind of similar, again, to the other analysis mode, you're able to see your profit or loss zones based on certain factors. In this case, instead of looking at, hey, I got an Amazon trade, I want to see where my profit or loss would be based on where Amazon trades. This is, hey, I got a bunch of different trades on a bunch of different symbols, but what would my portfolio's profit or loss look like based on how SPY was moving? In this case, if SPY increased a little bit today or the general market was up today, we'd have a little bit of a profit, but conversely, if it went down, we're not looking too hot. Uh, and it looks like even if we're getting up on the high ends, we're still looking a little average. So this is a really great tool, again, to look at your overall portfolio's risk and see, hey, oh yeah, if SPY were to drop a 1 standard deviation move, then I could be down, in this case, hover value here on the right, this number right here. Right now, I'm at about price of 487. If SPY were to drop to 487, my account would be down about 16,450 bucks. Conversely, if it went up to 675, then we'd be up about 4,400 bucks. So very, very nice tool as you're looking at your overall portfolio.